back. This is the second video in a series on using red dots on your micro compact or your compact pistol. Last one was about the Hex Wasp by Springfield. It also kind of covers like the Sig Romeo and then the Shield RMRcc, because in my mind they're all kind of the same class of dot and they use the same footprint. So take a look at that one if you want to look at that specific dot. Today we're going to be looking at the RMRcc. I'm terrible with acronyms. I'm just going to assume that the CC means concealed carry. It probably does when I take a look at the website. So the RMRcc came out last year. There's a lot of reviews on it. Go check out Sage Dynamics and Aaron Cowan if you want like all the details and him like bashing it against wood and whatnot. For me, I just wanted to see what the different options were out there and find what I wanted to put onto a concealed carry style gun. Normally I actually carry full-size guns, so full-size 2011 is my winter, spring, and fall carry. During the summer when it's in shorts, you know, basketball shorts where I'm running and I got a fanny pack on, and yes, I still have a fanny pack for certain situations. Having a concealed carry or smaller gun with a smaller optic is going to be nice to have. So getting right into it, I'm just going to look at my computer and I will recite the stats. You can skip this part and go to the website if you want to get it, but I just, you know, don't remember everything. So RMR concealed carry, there you go. So that's exactly what it means. A couple of things. It has two options for the red dot. They say it's a crisp 3.25 MOA or 6.5 MOA dot. I can't measure the differences on it, but I will say the dot is very, very crisp. So that's really nice. The battery life, they claim up to a 4-year battery life, which is amazing. You know, it's built to handle the worst, snag-free design. Basically, you know, if you have an RMR, like an RMR Type 2, this is just a baby version of that. And I like that they took the most, I'd say venerable, like now they have the SRO, but that's not really like a duty dot. Like they will say for concealed carry, that's fine to use, but that optic is, the window is very big and prone to breakage, so not for duty use. This is going to take that RMR Type 2 and make it smaller. The buttons are in the same place. The look is the same, the proportions are the same, it's just shrunk down. So if you like RMRs, you're gonna like the RMRcc. It's the same, it's just a little bit smaller. So let me go over the positives. Number one, it is durable. So if you know anything about RMRs, they are durable. They're pretty much considered to be the most durable open emitter dot. So you could have a closed emitter like an Aimpoint, you know, Acro or the HoloSun 509Ts. This is an open, you know, an open emitter, so the emitter is out in the open, hence the name, but it is very, very durable. So these, you know, have a history of that. So very durable dot, especially for concealed carry. 4-year battery, that is very, very long. I typically change batteries every year on my birthday. I just had my birthday last month, so I spent a lot of money on batteries, changing all the batteries on my red dots and my optics. But that way, you know, I pick something up and it's dead. Like, I just don't want to have that happen. So a 4-year battery though, you don't have to do that with the RMRcc. I should just like put a little, you know, number on there of the last year that I changed the battery on it. Positives, 8 brightness modes. So it has 2 night vision and 8 brightness modes and 1 super, super bright mode. It's like super duper bright. And I can tell you when you turn all the way on that super bright, it's bright. I wouldn't call it super bright, but it's definitely bright enough to handle, you know, super bright days. There it is, super bright. It is bright enough to handle bright days out here in Texas. So the super bright mode is nice. I don't have any nods, so I don't know about the 2 night vision modes. And honestly, like, I don't know if I would need 2 night vision modes on my concealed carry gun, because it's not like, you know, I go on a jog at night with nods on, I don't have them. But if I did, you know, maybe I would. Maybe that'd be kind of a thing to do. Go jogging at night with nods and, you know, have your Sig 365, which is what I mounted this on, in a fanny pack. And, you know, you definitely get some weird looks out there. So it does have 2 night vision modes, which is, you know, interesting. Tactile, so they claim a tactile 3 MOA adjustment. And I will say this, it uses like a coin. It's not a proprietary thing. Like you have to put a wrench in there. So if you have a coin or just a flathead screwdriver, you can make adjustments on it. I have heard people say that, wow, 3 MOA, that's a very big adjustment range per click. Dude, if you're thinking that, this is a concealed carry pistol. You're not really going to be making shots beyond 25 yards. So to get a 1-inch variance, it's basically, what is that? It's going to be a little over 1 click to move the dot 1 inch. So if you're really concerned about getting the dot perfectly zeroed to be, 100% at 25 yards, if you can stack bullets on top of each other in a compact gun at 25 yards, then good on you. Now, I will say the only downside to those adjustments is, since this is a narrow body optic, you will see people mounting them on 1911s and 2011s because those are too narrow to have a full-size dot on them. That's where these come in. So maybe, someone trying to do competition shooting with an RMRcc, but really this wouldn't be the right dot for that anyway. So most people are going to be putting in SRO, or if they're doing like bullseye shooting at 50 yards, they're using Seymours and sight marks and, all that stuff anyway. So the 3 MOA adjustment, I don't see anything wrong with that. That's perfectly acceptable for your 25 yard zero on your compact pistol. Button lockout. So for concealed carry, there is sometimes a concern that, as it's going into your holster, like I carry appendix, that you'll be pushing the buttons and whatnot. So it does have a 2 different button lockouts to where once you hit the brightness, you can set it and forget it. And even if you hit the button, it won't change it. For me, every time I holster, like if it's nighttime, I'll typically check it and, make it a little bit dimmer. If it's daytime, I like to brighten up my dots. So the lockout mode's not an issue for me, but it is nice to know that you've got that. Now, moving on to the negatives of it, and one of the big negatives I would say is the proprietary footprint. So just like the full-size RMR, which a lot of people are using that footprint, the RMRcc is a different footprint than the full-size RMR because the screw holes have to be narrower. The whole thing has to be more compact for a smaller gun. And nobody else uses this footprint. So could they have gone out and used the RMSc footprint, the Shield RMSc footprint, which is, what SIG uses, what Springfield uses? Sure. Could they have done that? I'm sure they could have. It would have required maybe some redesigns on internals, but the whole thing had to be shrunk anyway. And it's not like they've got a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids ray that just takes it and makes it, 1/3 the size or whatever. So if they're going through the redesign, would it have been nice for Trijicon to go ahead and use a footprint that's already out there? Sure, but Trijicon does what Trijicon does. So you're always going to have to get your slide milled or use some kind of a funky adapter plate. In the case of this 365, this is actually a buddy's gun. I borrowed it and said, hey man, I'm going to get it milled and re-cerakoted for you. He's like, all right, cool, whatever. He never shoots it, so, it's been here for a while. But I took it to Vulcan Machine Works in Plano, Texas, right down the road, and they did an awesome job of milling it, mounting it, re-cerakoting the slide and all that. But the only downside is on 365s, when you mill them, you really can't get enough depth to get the stock sights to co-witness. So I have no more co-witness ability on this gun, but that comes back to another positive on the RMRcc, and that is the familiar shape. So if you go back, I did a video on the RMR versus the SRO, and one of the things that I learned from Aaron at one of his Red Dot instructor courses is how to use the arch of the housing on an RMR as a backup sighting system. So what you do is you just take, if your main sights go down, your dot goes down, the window's broken, it's covered in snow, whatever, you can actually take this notch here, and depending on the engagement distance, but the average is to put it, right here. So take the 2 wings of the notch and put them on the shoulders, and then the U down in the middle, and you'll actually see on Aaron's guns, he paints a line down the center of it, and you can use that as a approximation of backup sights in case the dot goes down. So the RMR keeping that design, which is really for structural stability to keep that window from breaking, if there's a lot of pressure on it, gives you that backup ability as well. So that's a plus on there. The window size is acceptable. Okay, so the window size itself is acceptable. The clarity is just fine for moving from 25 yards and in. Once you get out beyond 25 yards, the shape of the window, the notch filter, that blue filter itself, and then it's not parallax, it's the curvature of the glass, just the way it is, it causes the image to move around. It could be parallax, I don't know all these terms, but once you get to a certain distance, like beyond 25 yards, it does make it a little bit harder for those two images to line up. So if you don't have a very, very dominant eye, some people don't have super dominance on one eye more than the other, you might see, you know, a little bit of images being superimposed, but, you know, for the most part, you're probably going to be fine. Now, if you're cross-eye dominant, then you're going to have a lot of problems, which is going to make it more difficult regardless. So this is a very good option for a concealed carry, but the one thing, there are a couple of negatives to it outside of the proprietary footprint. The bottom mount battery. So having a bottom mount battery means that when the batteries go dead, you have to unmount the screws, replace the battery from the bottom, re-Loctite them, and wait for that Loctite to dry, and then put them on and retorque it. And then the last step is to re-zero or confirm zero, you know, before you start carrying the gun. So if you did that every year, like I do on other dots, then it's going to be a long process every birthday of re-zeroing guns or confirming zeroing. But that 4-year claimed battery life, or up to 4 years, you know, that can mitigate that, I suppose. So, you know, the bottom mount battery is not that big of a deal, but, you know, it is kind of a pain. I wish they would have taken the time to redesign it and, you know, put a battery tray in there. Now, the last little negative on it is the price, because Trijicons ain't cheap. They have an MSRP of $699, so $700, right up there with an SRO. Now, up until recently, I was not seeing them available anywhere, so it's really hard to get a hold of them. Typically, you'll see them in the $500 range, but as they become more and more available, I don't know what the minimum advertised price is, the MAP price. You'll probably see them land right at around $500, you know, as time goes on. So $500 dot on a SIG 365. So the 365, I don't know how much it costs. I didn't buy it. Maybe it's $600, but now you've got $600 plus the dot at $500 plus the milling and the re-Cerakote, which at Vulcan is, you know, under $200. I don't know the exact price, but they did a great job. So under $200 for that. So now you've taken a $600 gun and you've doubled the price to add a red dot. So is it worth it? In my opinion, yes, it's definitely worth it. If you want, you know, the Trijicon reliability, the warranty, and that familiarity, then the RMRcc is definitely a good option. Just know that you're gonna have to send your gun out because no guns are accepting the RMRcc stock. So that could be a negative determining factor for you. But yeah, RMRcc, little baby red dot, this is a good option. I think in the last video I said the next video is gonna be on the Holosun. I lied. The next video, which is now the next video, is going to be on the Holosun option, and I'm going to give you a little preview. I am not a fan of Holosun pistol dots. I've got them on some of my rifles. They're rifle dots, but the original 407s bit me in the butt a couple of times. I had them go dead within a few hundred rounds, so not a fan of Holosuns. So this is going to be a real test for me coming up. But yeah, next time, what is this? The 507K X2.